welcome everybody to the Social Club on Friday, September 11th. We're happy to have you here.
We have a couple of birthdays today. Mel, whose birthday is it today? And I think Monday?
Sunday. Today's birthday is Michelle.
Michelle.
She's here. Michelle is here. And then on Sunday, we have Rob Moriarty.
Rob. Okay, great. Well, happy birthday, Michelle.
Thank you.
Welcome, Michelle. I know you're quite new here. Good to see you. And Rob, of course, we know you. Incredibly brave, heroic character who's told us all his stories. Good to see you again, my friend. Happy birthday for Sunday. I'm such a big fan of you, Rob. I have to tell you, you're such a great inspiration. And Michelle, you have a lot to live up to in Rob. First, you know what? Let's take everybody off mute for a second, just to wish you guys happy birthday, especially Michelle, who's today, and happy birthday in advance for you, Rob. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Michelle! Happy birthday, Rob!
It's a kind of tradition here in the social club, and I'm really enjoying it. So, Rob, by the way, for those who don't know and why I call him a hero, dove in a swimming pool when he was a youngster, completely paralyzed, and then overcame that splendidly with amazing courage. So
I'm amazed you've remembered that much, Sid, because it's been at least 200 incredible stories since we last spoke.
I know, but there's some that you just don't forget, and I'm not going to forget yours. So anyway, I hope everyone's well and that you're all relaxed and comfy because we're about to do a little 2-hour trip through people's lives.
That's right. We're going to start with Colin Kerrigan.
Colin! Hello!
Hello!
Look at
Quizmaster extraordinaire, Colin.
Yeah, so
Good friend of mine.
I sent Mel a photo. I don't know if you've got it.
Yep.
Oh, I think we do.
So yeah, this is my childhood photo. So I'll just be very quick with this. That's me on the left. There's me on the left. Yeah, basically that's my first communion. I'm a totally lapsed Catholic, and my lovely mom behind me there, my sashes and everything else. And the guy on the right is my friend Nigel, who's my best friend at primary school. I managed to knock his front teeth out, not by punching, but I accidentally pushed him and he tripped and he smacked onto a concrete bollard. So that's how we remember. But then his dog got his own back on me. I leant over his sofa one day and the dog jumped up and bit my lips.
Oh my word.
And
shorts and socks, they're so cute.
Yeah, I know. Oh God, yeah. What was she
How
thinking?
old were you?
I would have been 7 there.
Oh my goodness. I wasn't allowed to wear trousers at school until I was, I think 11, 10, something like that. We weren't permitted. We had to wear shorts.
Yeah, it's tragic, it has to be said. And what's interesting about Nigel is we lost touch when I went to secondary school, and then he got back in touch years later. And he'd only gone and got 4 degrees. And he went to Japan, he lived in Japan, he spoke Japanese, he went to Japanese university, he went to the Catholic Seminary College, he went to the Sorbonne in Paris, various other places. So he got 4 degrees, and he co-founded, with Stelios, EasyJet. That's my friend Nigel. Oh, and then he's the person who I used to stay with him in Covent Garden a lot. And I got in a lift one day and this voice said, "Hold the doors, please." And I was half tempted to just not bother, but I opened the doors to let the person in. And it was John Cleese. And so I got in a lift with John Cleese and I was like, "Oh, it's you." And he's like, "Yes, it's me." And so I got talking a little bit, realised we were going to the same floor. We walked out and he said, "Oh, I'm not staying for very much longer. I've got a divorce and, I'm having to sell the flat and everything." So, "Oh, well, nice to meet you." Realised he was literally next door. He was Nigel's next door neighbour. And I've been seeing Nigel for like 7 years. He never mentioned it once that John Cleese lived next door.
So let me get this straight. John Cleese, obviously quite a famous dude, bumped into you in a lift, in an elevator.
Yep.
And one of the first things he said was, "I can't stay long. I've got a divorce."
Well, I think what he was actually trying to do was, so I was sort of saying, "Oh, so I'm seeing Nigel." And he went, "Oh, yes, Nigel. I know Nigel." And as we got out on the floor, I said, "Oh, you live here too?" And he went, "Oh, yes, but not for very much longer. I'm selling the flat." And it was that time when it was all over the news about his divorce. So I think he was a little bit You know, he kind of had to say, I'm
I
selling it.
missed that. I missed the fact that he got.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
So that's my photo, and that's my
Thank
story.
you, Colin. That's lovely. Does everybody? Do you talk about Pete much because you've got these amazing friends?
I think I have. Yeah, Pete is okay. Have I got time to? I'll say this very quickly.
Of course.
So so Pete works with Darren Brown in the UK and David Blaine in America. He comes up with tricks for them and works with them and designs stuff. And he's one of the best close-up card magicians I know. And years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, I said to him, I've got David Blaine's next trick. I think, because it was around the time of Baumgarten jumping out of the ship, you know, going up into the atmosphere. And I said, David Blaine should hold onto an air balloon, a weather balloon, and it should take him up as high as it can. He's got no parachute on, and he's only holding on by his actual bare hands. And it should go up as high as it can until he either passes out through lack of oxygen, or he gets too cold, or he loses his grip. And then on the way down, he has to put his parachute on. And Pete said, I'm not telling him that, because if I tell him, he'll do it. He's crazy enough to do anything that might kill him. Last week, what does he do? I said, Pete, you didn't tell me. He got in the genius of it was he turned it into Up. He had like coloured balloons, and he did the same thing. No parachute on, although I think he was attached. But yeah, and I was like, that was my idea. And Pete was going,
that's brilliant. We should if he's around, we should get Pete on to come and talk about magic. I mean, we just come on and maybe show us some stuff if he wants to, but really just to talk and meet him, because he's an amazingly lovely guy. He was at my wedding many years ago, and he just sat with all the guests, moved around the tables, and did tricks for everybody. And everybody was like, how do you do that? As you'd imagine. But he's very good, close magician. So he can be right next to you, 20 inches away, and do a trick, and it just will leave you amazed. But bring him on. We'd love to see him.
I will talk to him about that.
If you want more stories about Colin and his random shenanigans and friends, and bumping into John Cleese in the lift, and apparently not doing silly walks down the hall with him. I mean,
no, he had a divorce. He was too busy.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Divorces, take time. Can't just hang around in lifts, elevators with people.
Guys.
Nonsense.
We're going to go over to Sarah. Sarah, do you know any magic tricks?
No. Sadly, I don't.
You don't?
I don't. I know none. Although I also had a magician at my wedding.
Oh, isn't it amazing? Isn't it?
Yeah, we had exactly the same thing. And you could do stuff really close up and just... and it really filled in a gap as well, because weddings do get quite boring.
And we had a fake wedding, actually, because we got married in Los Angeles. And I think Nana really wanted, back in the day, wedding in a church in England and all that. And we staged a wedding, and then everybody came to the house afterwards. We had a thing it was quite good fun. It was really
That's
fun.
very cool.
What was your wedding like?
Very nice. It was back in 2003.
Oh, so that's relatively recent.
Very long time.
And look at all those things in the background. Are you a jewellery maker by any chance, or are you a collector of jewellery? I can see you're a voiceover.
No, it's just costume jewellery, cheap stuff. I don't really wear it very often.
And do you do voiceover?
No, I was a singer, so I've got my own little recording studio here. So I tried to do some during lockdown.
Oh my goodness.
But I wasn't, I chickened out of posting it. I don't know, it felt oddly narcissistic to put it up on Facebook. So I just kind of left it.
It's incredibly generous.
I just kind of
precisely the opposite of narcissism, generosity.
It was fun with friends.
Good. Okay. Do you still sing? Do you still do stuff?
Only for myself.
Do you sing a particular genre? Are you a jazz singer?
No, it's mainly country rock, country folk.
Oh, fantastic. I know that I've got an aunt, an ex-aunt, Mary Steenbergen, her name is, and she's a pretty famous actor, actually. She was married to Malcolm, but she still sees herself as my aunt. And she has a secret up her sleeve, and that she writes hit country and western songs, which who would have thought? She's a lyricist.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
It's fantastic. How have you been? I don't think we've talked before.
No, I literally only learnt about Sid City last week. So I'm a complete newbie, a virgin,
Well, you're
as it
so
were.
welcome.
But I'm a Brit, obviously, but I live in the south of France.
Oh my goodness, you lucky thing. I would love to live in France. What made
Really
you move
lucky.
there?
We moved here about 3 years ago. It's a long story, but I'll cut it right down. My husband had always wanted to move abroad. And after my dad passed, I said, okay, we'll give it a go. And he'd been coming here for about 30 years and so wanted to come here.
Whereabouts? Vaguely.
About an hour south of Toulouse. So right down the bottom, we're about an hour and a half from Spain.
And that's okay. So you're near the Spanish border.
We're right down the bottom.
Is that the area where they make the foie gras? The special.
Yeah, not far. Yeah, not far.
I know. I've been there.
A lot of wineries around here. Yeah.
My mum had a friend who had a chateau. She had a lot of fancy friends. He bought himself a chateau, which was a 15th century chateau in down there, and it was amazing, surrounded by sunflowers. I remember. It's all just visual for me because I was pretty.
Oh, the sunflower fields. Yeah, we're surrounded by sunflower fields. They've all gone now. They're all dying back. They all look a bit miserable.
I just such a romantic story. What did you do? How did you land on your feet? So you must have made some plans.
Well, yeah, we made some. I'm a freelance graphic designer, so that was something I could do from anywhere. And Mark was lucky to land a job here with a company in France. So that was great, because about 2 years after my dad went, we found out we couldn't have children. And so we thought, well, there needs to be something else big that we do then. Something else quite life-changing that we do. And so this was it.
You seem cheerful and happy, and going to France was such a good idea.
Oh yeah, we're fine. Like so many people on here, I'm sure, I had quite a challenging upbringing, quite a challenging childhood, because my dad was very ill for all my life. By the time I was sort of 12, I was this very weird, completely self-isolated, zero confidence, socially awkward little weirdo.
There is no one like that on this club. Right? Everyone here is
nobody,
not like
I'm sure.
No, we're totally effervescent, amazing people.
I literally effectively locked myself in my room for about 3 years. And Star Trek became a lifeline for me. And at the worst time with Dad, when I was about 13 to 16, it was DS9.
Wow.
That was what was out, and then Voyager. And my absolute favourite character was Dr. Bashir.
Oh,
and Garak, I will admit, and Garak. And possibly Jake, because we were nearly the same age. I loved Julian from the beginning. It was very comforting to see someone who was also very socially awkward, able to, and misunderstood, I think, and rise above it. It gave hope to the rest of us. And for Garak, I mean, he's such a powerful actor anyway, but I think I was most attracted to his voice. God, I could listen to Andy read out a phone book, honestly.
Exactly. Yeah. He's just such a special actor.
He really is.
Really
I've been watching a few old interviews with him just over the last week, and it's just falling in love all over again.
Yeah, fantastic. He's got that Massachusetts accent.
He really, could just listen to it all day. But now rewatching DS9 over lockdown, because it's been such a long time since I'd seen it, God, it's like hanging out with old friends. And I'm sure I won't be the only one that feels that way.
Have you seen any of the play that Matt Campbell did? And
yes,
also,
I did.
There are two others as well. Beautiful plays.
I've literally been binging everything the last week because I've just discovered it all. Bringing them back to life has been a real treat.
That's great fun.
Yeah, thanks to everyone involved with that, because that was really good.
Yeah, Emma and Amy, but everybody's been knee deep in making sure that we entertain ourselves here. It's been fantastic.
Oh yeah, no, it's a really good idea. I mean, this is a fantastic idea. Thank you for doing this.
It is. It's sort of evolved.
This is amazing.
As a group thing, really. I mean, obviously, it had to start somewhere, but the way people connected to the club, and the way that people were really open and honest about their experiences and what they thought about things, has just made it really kind of special.
It really has.
Really,
it's really original, and
it's a weird.
Thanks ever so much.
Community, you're very welcome. That's the point. Everybody.
Before I go and I give someone else a turn, obviously, my husband Mark he watches Star Trek with me, although I wouldn't call him a fan, but
Right.
he is a huge fan of ancient history.
Oh.
And in particular, Alexander the Great is his absolute hero. So he is
Right.
very, very supportive of your stage name. However, he asked me to give you a message.
Sure.
I need to get this right.
Okay.
Mark has asked me to tell you that you were excellent as Hannibal Barker in the BBC docudrama that you did.
Thank you.
And he's asked me to ask you, who do you think would win in a battle between Hannibal and Alexander the Great? And that if you say Hannibal, I'm to hang up.
I think it would very likely be Alexander the Great. I mean, there's almost no way that with the size of the army and the kind of sweep that Hannibal Barker kind of surprise attacked Rome, and he came in the back door because he went over the Alps and the elephants famously.
Yeah.
But a set piece, he didn't do very well in set pieces, and Alexander the Great had done pretty well by the time he was 26.
Yeah, but then Hannibal was the only man to nearly bring down the Roman Empire.
That is true, but he didn't do it. He didn't press on the advantage.
Didn't quite do it, no.
He didn't, although I admire both of them, because obviously, Hannibal is, I guess, geographically from Tunisia, and Alexander the Great, geographically, I suppose, from somewhere around Turkey. I'm not quite sure where.
Macedonia, Greece, and then went across.
Yeah, that whole
Mark
area.
could tell you, I'm not very good at
it. He
it.
would, and so many people on the site would too, because I can't quite remember.
Yeah.
They're fabulous creatures, both of them. The sound of them is wonderful. I don't really know so much about Alexander the Great.
Anyway, so I've asked that for Mark. Thank you.
Good. Well, bring him on next time, and he can come and tell us about Alexander the Great.
Oh, he'll give you a lecture. Yeah.
We'd love it. We'd love it.
Thank you so much. It's really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Well, let's go and look at our little water baby friend.
Oh yeah, there's the water baby again. I did love the sea. I learned to swim in Italy about a year before this, and I used to have these bright orange bathing trunks that you could see from miles away. I'm sure my mother put them on me because she needed to see me from miles away. And I used to dread going to swimming class because the water was so cold for me. It was freezing, even in Italy, in a beautiful, beautiful part of Italy, near a town called Porto Santo Stefano. Friends we always stayed with friends because we didn't have any money. But that was me enjoying the fact I knew how to float. I remember it very well.
Is this at the same time as the
seaweed?
Yeah, that's the same.
Same dude. Better trunks. They may actually.
Is it the same trip when you were with your friend?
It was this island called Formentera, just off Spain. That's the only time I've been there with my friend Tom Gifford. Yeah, I remember it very well.
Okay, we're going to go to Elizabeth, who also has some photos to share with us.
Hello.
Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm very well indeed, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. I've recently moved into a new state, in a new apartment, in a new job, so everything's super new right now.
I was going to ask you if you were still at college, but clearly not.
Yeah, I've just graduated college actually. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
What did you graduate in?
My degree is in public policy.
Okay, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, so it's basically political science kind of thing. It's just the process of from the bill in Congress to becoming an actual law, like the whole legislative process, I guess is kind of what I studied.
Fascinating. Because I would have thought from you just saying public policy, it would be less political science and more acts that are good for the public. So sort of slightly in the gray area for Americans.
It's really hard to explain definitively. I have the degree, but I barely know how to explain it to someone who's not in the field. It's such a specialized degree that whenever I tell other people what my degree was in or what I majored in, it was just really, really difficult to describe it. There's so much that goes into it, but also not really. It's
right. It confuses me because you'd assume being public policy. These are like water and environmental laws, things that are good for the public, even though the public may be kicking and screaming against having any kind of laws enacted that insist that they behave a certain way, much like the mask problem we're having all over the States right now.
Right.
People just don't want to be told, so they're not doing it.
Like a policy analyst would kind of try to come up with the best method for making sure that people wear their masks, or like analyzing the types of policy that would be most effective.
Yeah.
Or not effective to have people like wear their masks.
And are you doing something that you feel is on the right path to whatever it is you want to do? Because you've moved state, moved job, moved everything.
I work for the government. I work for the Air Force, and I've wanted to work for the government for my entire life, basically.
Yeah.
I love public service. It's what I'm really, really passionate about. So in that sense, I kind of am doing my dream job.
Yeah.
But also because what I'm doing right now is not in any way related to my major.
Right.
Yeah, what I'm doing right now is like so specific to the military, so specific to the Air Force that it's a little hard to translate those skills to what I'd really like to do.
It does sound like though that you might be, that's the path. This is a step along the way that you.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is a step along the way with everything going on in the world, especially from a civil rights perspective. I think I do want to focus more on politics itself.
Yeah. If you had your choice, where now that you have a better perspective on what kind of policy work you'd like to get involved with, would you like to be more active? Would you like to be more a political advisor to someone who may be running, or do you have that sort of ambition, or you much prefer to be in the kind of civil service? And
my absolute dream would be to work for a politician. I actually did work for a politician. I worked for a representative in the Capitol in DC for a semester. I was an intern. That was amazing, and I just really want to be back in that environment again. Because in those types of environments, like everybody's so passionate about the work they do. Everyone it's all about public service.
In a way, it's fantastic what you're doing because no one wants someone to come and work for them. Especially, you've already been the intern. You've done that. That was an important hurdle, and you were amazing that you got that job. But nobody really wants someone who hasn't got a speciality, and you're building a speciality.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
It sounds to me like you're doing the right thing, although of course it's not. You haven't got to heaven yet. Life really does have a funny way of just opening surprising doors for you.
Right.
And it's about whether or not you go through them is really the tough one. And obviously you're a go through doors kind of person because you just moved state. That's great. Whereabouts are you?
I live in Ohio, and I moved here. I'm from Georgia.
Okay, wow. Right. Yeah. So that is big difference.
All of my coworkers are surprised that I moved this far for this job.
Yeah. Well, it must have been really important to you. So, boom. That's and Ohio is such a night and day to Georgia.
Like the weather for one thing. I was born and raised in Georgia, and so I'm not used to cold weather. So everyone tells me that I'm gonna have a big wake-up call when winter comes. You might.
Yeah. It does get quite cold, I have to warn you. And do you live alone or with people, or you have?
I have a roommate.
And what do you cook? What do you do? Do you feed yourselves, or do you do takeout?
So I cook. I'm not very good at it. I'm still learning. But I'm trying. I'm trying to stay healthy, so I'm trying to get all these fresh fruits and vegetables from the farmer's market.
Wow.
But it's a little hard for me right now to shop at the farmer's market just because money's a little tight for me right now. So. Yeah,
of course. You have to be smart about that. Have you ever made a thing called ful madames? It's an Arabic dish. If money's tight.
I've never heard of it.
I think I've mentioned it once before on this site. So it's basically it's beans, fava beans, with cooked obviously with olive oil and garlic and onions, and it is so crazy delicious, lemon juice, that you can feed yourself pretty much for a whole week for about $1.50. About $5 actually. But
Wow.
it's if you want to try it, what you have to do, I'll be very quick, because by the way, we've got a great recipe book. Have you seen a recipe book there? Everybody made?
I haven't had a chance to check it out yet, but I will. I'm waiting on it.
Amazing. And this recipe isn't in it, but a lot of people in the club will know Arabic food, and it is bizarrely delicious. I gave the recipe to my son because he loves anything Arabic in terms of food. And he cooked it for his girlfriend, and he sent me a photo, and he said it was amazing. So you should try it. It's a basic, ordinary dish for most of the Arab world, North Africa and the Gulf.
It sounds great. It sounds good.
Do you want to share a couple of photos from?
Oh, Elizabeth, do you have photos?
Yes, I have
My
2.
goodness.
So there's me as a baby. So I have a younger brother. He's 7 years younger than me.
Right.
But when we were babies, we looked exactly the same. Like,
Oh my goodness.
exactly the same face, like exactly the same smile.
Oh, it's just, you are as cute as the button on the end of Rudolph's nose. Adorable, Elizabeth. Really lovely. And I'm guessing that's your mom.
Yes, that's my mother right there. I barely remember this, but this was a trip to Ottawa, I think, Ottawa or Montreal in Canada.
Okay.
All I remember from this trip, if it was even the same trip, was seeing those, what do you call them? Like those,
Animals?
No, like those like fancy guards, and they're like dressed up in their uniforms.
Oh, the Mounties, the Canadian Mounties.
Yes, I think, yeah. I vaguely remember seeing someone vaguely dressed up like that.
That's cool. And do you have any more?
Oh no, just those 2.
Well, thank you. They're beautiful. You were beautiful, and you still are.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. No problem.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Let's keep the baby parade going. Here's another one, little Sid.
Those are the bright orange trunks, which you can't tell because it's black and white. That is in Italy when I was learning to swim. I was stuck on the front of a boat. It was my favorite place to be. But anyway, we stayed with this couple, and they had a lovely place. And Dick built boats for a living. And so he had a lovely boat that we spent time on. And I found it so exciting to sit right on the front of the boat. It's got a name like...
The prow?
Prow. Thank you, Mel. And dangle my feet over the side and watch the sea rush under me. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. That was the thing I loved to do, sit on the prow of the boat and look down at the water rushing under my feet. And I goof around and play guns with the other kids. There was a few kids there. In fact, that was about a year before I rode a motorcycle for the first time. These kids, we went to town, they goaded me to get on a motorcycle. They were old enough to do it. I was like 8. And I remember they went, "Get out of the motorbike. What are you? Come on, you have no courage." And so they gave me they started the motorbike up. They put me on. We were in a harbour, and I'd seen movies. I'd seen Steve McQueen ride a motorbike, And so I just went, twisted my hand on the handlebar. The motorbike took off like a galloping horse, hit the side of a Mercedes, and then careered into the harbour, into the water. That taught those kids a lesson, because of course it wasn't my fault. And their parents were furious that they'd made me do that. So that's another memory of Italy, particularly at that time. I was fine, by the way, but
my God.
The Mercedes car door was not fine, and the motorbike nearly drowned.
Wow.
That reminds me of another time that I was in Greece. This was when I was 18, with my friend Mark at the time, who I thought was the most handsome. I wanted to be Mark. I just thought, oh, you're the coolest person on earth. So he said, "Do you want to go to Greece?" And I went, "Yeah, sure." We went for a month. We slept on the beach. And then there was one particular island called Ios, which was famous for being a party island. I don't know if it still is. And it was nearly all kids. And one night I walked back alone. So I was trundling down the beach path. And as I was walking, I was looking at, oh, there's a shooting star. And it was amazing. And then a motorbike went over my head. And I went, oh my God, there's a motorbike. And I looked down the side of the cliff, and the motorbike was there, and I ran 15 feet to 20 feet to the motorbike. I remember burning my hands because I picked it up immediately, thinking, this motorbike needs my help. I didn't think about who was driving it. The guy was fine in a bush about 10 feet further on. I mean, he was complaining of a hurt shoulder blade or something. But that's just a memory that I just reminded myself of while I was telling you nonsense stories about other crazy things happening in my life.
Oh my gosh. Peaceful walk along the beach, and there goes a motorbike.
Yes, it was a shooting star. And I was like, wow, never seen, wow, motorbike.
Oh, the stories this brings up. It's amazing. Okay, we're going to go over to Casey, who better have some good stories to share. Oh, no.
Hello.
Do we need to wait?
Dorothy. It's good to see ya. She can take as much time as she wants. I remember those. They're a handful.
Yeah, he's about 4 months now.
He's not as old as the social club.
No, he's not. I think the first time I talked to you, he was like 2 weeks old.
Yeah, he was 2 weeks old.
Something crazy like that.
Yeah.
The joke around here is that he's gonna know who you are more than like.
Yeah, well, that would be embarrassing. Luckily, he hasn't got any first words to say yet. It's Uncle Sid. It's very cool. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great.
It's at least, 8 weeks further on down the road.
Yeah. I'm on the East Coast now. We moved from Oregon to North Carolina. It was 6 days. It was 6 days in a car with the baby, my husband, my 5-year-old, and 2 cats. It was very exciting.
Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, that is serious. That is really serious.
It was fun. It was fun. But we're here now.
Good. Congrats.
We're in the rental.
Is it lovely?
It's so nice to know that I'm gonna be in a place for a while. We moved back to the area where my husband was born and raised.
Right.
His family's here. The grandparents are like literally around the corner.
Right.
So
is there anything that happened in those 6 days that you will probably never forget?
We were out in the middle of nowhere in Nebraska, and there is just it's a monument of some kind, and it's Nebraska, so it's flat from
pancake
side to side, and we just needed to stop, so we pulled off at the side of this. It's like a historical thing, and it's a weird sort of platform where you just get out of your car and you walk around this ramp that sort of comes up and then up and then up, and then there's just like a turret at the top, and you just stand up there and you can see Kansas, and you could but you can see like 3 different states or something insane.
That's probably why it's there. That is probably a special place. You can see everything.
There was apparently the cross-country railroad had apparently run by there at some point.
Right.
Yeah, it was just so interesting. And of course, my 5-year-old is running up and down.
Loving life. Get out of that car.
And like, yeah, sure, go. Run as far as you can, because it's flat and we can see you. And then run back. My best friend in the whole world actually lives 40 minutes from here, which I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm so glad.
Been the clincher. Yeah, absolutely. And because when I moved to Massachusetts, I moved here so Shana, my wife, could be near her family. It's nice that she's got someone friendly to say hi to, and I find it really good fun getting to meet another family and getting to sort of get them to feel comfortable around me, and that I comfortable around them. It takes a long time, but has that been interesting with you? Because obviously you've met your guy's family, but you don't know them.
Yeah, I'm not. So his family's very Southern. I'm a little bit from everywhere, but both of my parents were from upstate New York.
Right.
So it was a big culture clash,
But now you're cool?
Clementine's the first grandkid. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, very special place. Very special place in history. Yeah. And obviously your partner's as happy as Larry. This is where he understands this. He understands the neighborhood. He understands the people.
Oh yes, yeah.
This is not some problem for him. He's not in an alien country.
No, no. We're back. We're back in his
neck of the woods.
Yeah.
That is so cool. That's really great. Now that you don't have any time on your hands, what are you dreaming about? What are you wanting to do? Because you're obviously you're going to be preoccupied with this teeny little one, and you've got a little one. So are you thinking? Right, what am I going to do here? I'm going to obviously raise these two children, and hopefully with some help.
So,
what do you feel you have the skill set for that is a kind of corollary to that? It's close enough that you're kind of ready to begin looking at that.
Well, I've done a little bit of everything, to be fair, and I'm not bad at wrangling people, which has been kind of proven by my project. I've been doing the special interest talks because apparently I really needed a project.
Yeah, good.
AC, tell me more about that. It's her version of the TED Talk. It's like the Sid City's sort of social club TED Talk.
Yeah,
that's great. That's really great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been pretty consistently every Saturday afternoon and some Thursday nights Eastern time. We've been having people just do sort of special interest presentations, things that they're good at, things that they like, do like Q&A sessions, AMA type things. Robin's been on there, Knox, Emma, Rose, a whole bunch of
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. That sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
And that's a thing.
Fun.
That's a thing. That's a really important thing.
It's been hugely fun, and a really great opportunity to actually see people face to face and talk to people face to face and be social outside of, whoever is within a 15-foot radius and or the cashier.
Absolutely. And is there anything that you went, my goodness, I hadn't figured that out. It didn't occur to me that this was true. Like something you've learned in this thing, the more philosophical rather than expertise based.
Oh gosh.
Because there's so many things I'm learning from talking to you and talking to everybody else on the site, and it's always not what you think. It's always something coming in the back door, and it's like, wait a minute, and it arrives kind of after the fact. It's like, wait, I had no idea. I didn't know anything about that. I thought I knew everything.
Well, I definitely don't know everything. Hannah's explanation of how medical trials work the other day was really, like last week, was really, really interesting. But also, I'm a giant science nerd, so like that was right in my ballpark.
Right up the street.
Yeah.
Well, that's really great. I'm really glad to have given you 10 minutes away from children for 5.
Thank you. But I actually have pictures, which I'm going to
great
now. So this is included because it's a picture of my dad. And if we have I have a fun Deep Space Nine anecdote for you. So when I was a kid, like 8 to 14, we watched Deep Space Nine. I think I told you about this last time, but got really into it. We were hugely into science fiction. We would talk about it all the time. He was a big fan of Andy's, of Garrick's character.
Wow, that's great.
He would talk, oh, cool, Andrew Robinson, like showing up as a featured performer in the credits. Oh, exciting. And he would talk about how much he liked your scenes together. Like, oh man, it's great. It's written great. They just have great chemistry, this, that, and the other thing. It was always and then as as the seasons went on, he started like grousing about they're not allowed to get written together anymore. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's just not fair. I don't understand what they got. It's just, well, I mean, obviously I understand, but it's not cool, and it's a waste. It's a waste. And I was like, okay, because I was 10, you know.
Yeah, they pushed me on to Colin O'Brien.
Yeah, which fine, but I didn't watch Deep Space Nine for years, and then I've been following Almasi on Archive of Our Own for years.
Yeah.
And I got a notification writing something else, and I clicked on it, and I was just like, Kerrigan Bashir, is that a thing? And I kind of went back, and you could, if someone had been sitting in the room, they would have seen the cogs turning in my brain.
Yeah.
Because I'm suddenly recontextualizing 10 years of conversations with my dad from an adult perspective instead of a child. And this light bulb moment went off, and I went, wait a second.
What do you think your dad would have made of that, of Almasi's piece?
Oh, he would have loved it.
Yeah, that's telling about your dad. I like your dad already. Not just because of the way he's paying attention to you there, but because of that.
Yeah, he and I were like best friends. He's a big part of this personality, unfortunately.
When did he move on? When did he pass away?
2008.
And suddenly, or did you see it coming?
Yeah, complications of a heart attack.
Oh,
but
chunk of you. Big old chunk of you. It's funny, isn't it? Because I lost my mom about 2003, I think. And she never really died. I mean, the first few months, for sure. I was, selfishly, I was like, I have this big hole in my life. But like sand, inevitably refilling a crack. She was the one who filled that crack because her memory of her, the spirit of her, what I felt she would do and think and say at every gesture, every moment was what filled that hole. So she kind of didn't die for me, although clearly she is not here.
Yeah, I mean, my sister and I still use present tense a lot for my dad. It's habit. And then, I mean, we were weirdly good friends, so especially as an adult. I was 21 when he died. I got a bunch of stories of his because he bounced around everywhere. It was just like, he just has so many crazy stories. Like, he was flown out of Moscow with a Godspell cast that was touring because, like, in the middle of the night because, like, the Soviet Union was collapsing. And I'm just sort of like a repository for those now, which is very exciting. I'm a lot of fun at parties.
Well, I'm really glad that you're speaking of him, because we must always speak about our departed, and it's our sort of obligation as family members. And now, who is this? This is your brother?
That's me in a terrible haircut and my little sister.
I wouldn't. That's brilliant. You look actually terrific, and you do look like you and your sister are totally in love. So that's really cool.
Yeah, she's 3 years younger than I am.
So were you a big support for each other when he passed, or were you away from each other? Were you near each other?
I moved back for a couple of months. I moved back into she was still living with my mom, and I moved back in there for a couple of months, and then I moved to North Carolina, actually, with my best friend. Yeah, so we actually didn't get along super well before.
Yeah.
He went to Moscow, but afterwards we became like a really
tight.
Yeah, really tight.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, death has a way of doing that. Yeah. It can bring family together.
Yeah.
So happy you're enjoying your new place. I'm hoping it just becomes much, much more fun every day, new things.
Maybe. I will tell you what, if this one turns 1 and we're still doing these,
that you never know. Never say never, Casey.
Thank you so much for your time, sir.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Casey. Let's let's see, we've got time for another photo of young Sid.
Oh, where are we now?
Like Django.
Ah, we're at school. Yeah, okay. I wonder if you can guess which one Sid is. Yep, that's the one. Whoever's pointing the mouse. Yeah, arrogant. I was probably about 14 or 15 then. And that's field hockey for anyone who's interested. It's not lacrosse. We played field hockey at school. That was our house team. So actually, I was probably Mark. In fact, the guy I was telling you I fell in love with, who I thought was the most handsome man in the world, is the guy in the middle with the blazer, and he was the team captain and good at everything. And everybody, all the people, everyone fell in love with him. At least all, the girls did, and the boys wouldn't talk about it. That was that kind of school. But this was a school called St. Lawrence College. The guy in the middle above Mark, he became head of school. He's the most responsible guy at the school, and he's obviously Scottish. The guy sitting down on the far left, my opposite, his name, we called him Spanner, and he was really funny. He was hilarious. And Neil, who's sitting next to him, introduced me to rock music, and he taught me we listened to Genesis for hours in his study. Sitting next to me, amazing hockey player. He's actually the best hockey player, one of the best hockey players at the school. So a bunch of people there. I wasn't very good at hockey. I got into the team somehow.
Was the team good overall?
It was okay. I mean, that was the house team. So this was to compete against other teams at the school. So inter-school teams. But the first 11, the team that would actually go out and play other schools, included Mark and Paddy Archie next to each other. The guy next to me and the guy next to him. They were the two outstanding hockey players. The rest of us were pretty much like, can you hold a stick? Okay, you're in the team.
What was your house name? Do you remember?
The name was Lodge House.
Lodge House.
We were at the very top of the school. It was very high. That's the back steps, and the school goes about 4 stories high, and we were at the very, very top. It was cool. It was a boarding school, and we had a Latin school song and all that sort of stuff. So it was a pretty rough school, but the regulations in England changed while I was there, about exactly this time. Caning was outlawed, corporal punishment was outlawed, so we couldn't beat anyone up.
Jeez, I really don't have any follow-up questions because my only experience with boarding school is Harry Potter. So.
Yeah, it was like Harry Potter, except no magic, violence.
Yeah. I mean, there is the motorcycle flying over your head at a later date, like Hagrid on a flying motorbike. Wow. Okay. Everybody who joined us today and shared your photos, we really appreciate that.
Photos are fun. We can keep going with some photos.
Have a great weekend.
Lovely weekend.